Good afternoon. This is U.S. Immigration Attorney Sharifa Tharpe. It's good to be back, and I'm here with a great topic. So, I'm going to be talking about the Prima Facie determination letter. And the question that I'm going to answer today is: does the Prima Facie letter in VAWA cases mean that will be approved, right? Whenever you get whenever we get prima facie determination letters for our clients, we just got two yesterday. We're very happy, right? The prima facie determination letter means that at this time, hi there, greetings in Jamaica. So it means that they have everything they need right now. They've initially reviewed your application, and based on everything that they've reviewed, they believe you qualify, but they're going to take some more time to review it in detail. I like to compare this to the process of applying for a mortgage, right? Whenever you're applying for a mortgage, or in most cases when you're applying for a mortgage, hi there, Caroline. Hi there, Scarlett. Nice to see you. So whenever you're applying for a mortgage, in the U.S., they will issue a pre-approval letter. When you apply for the loan, they go ahead, they look at your qualifications, they look at make sure you meet all the requirements, and then they issue a pre-approval letter. Their pre-approval letter is saying how much they can approve you for, and it allows you to go and start shopping around for houses, and then when you and it allows you to make the offer on the house. And then when you go ahead and make the offer and things get a lot serious, and now the underwriters get involved to make sure that everything does line up properly, that all the evidence you provided, the actual cost of the house is going to match the income, and that everything is covered. At that point, the evaluation gets a lot more detailed, right? So it gets a little more intense towards the end, right before you close on the house. And then before you know it, you get the approval, you get the house, and move on. This process is similar to that, right? Where you get a sort of a pre approval letter, saying that they believe you qualify. So they do an initial review. This letter usually comes about 2 to 6 months after applying for VAWA. And when you apply for it at the 2 to 6 month mark, you get this prima facie letter, which means that one, you don't need to send them anything further unless they ask in the future. Two, they believe you qualify right now. That's may be subject to change in the future, but you'll have to wait until they review it in detail again. And then three, you can use the prima facie determination letter for public benefits in certain states. Now, it varies from state to state. And the best thing you can do is, if you need assistance, because remember, the prima facie letter is for VAWA applicants. VAWA applicants, they're usually in very difficult situations. They maybe have found themselves homeless. They have found themselves with little support because the spouse, the parent, or even their adult child they're mistreating them. So maybe they don't have access to their basic needs at that moment. And so the prima facie letter in some states, it does allow the individual, the applicant, to take it and go to see if they can apply for benefits. Now, some states, there's not much you can do with it. And then in others, they do have a number of benefits. It varies from state to state. So, for example, California, Washington, New York, Florida, in some instances, Connecticut are some of the states that do offer benefits with a prima facie determination letter. Now, even though you have a prima facie determination letter, you still have to go to the office to see what else they require. You may have this letter, but some of them may still require you to show your status. Some of them may still require you to show your identification, to show your social security number. So it may be that you have to wait until you get your work permit and your social security number before you can actually qualify for the benefits that the state offers. Some don't offer at all. So some of the ones that I listed, they offer it, but it's really on a case by case basis, on a state by state basis. So what I tell my clients is I tell them to contact, sometimes it's the Human Services, the Office of Human Services, Social Services. Tell the, that's a place where whatever agency is in charge of public benefits, that's where you'll have to go to see if you can get food assistance, if you are able to get any kind of how, like for example, housing, food assistance, medical assistance, may be a big one where maybe you could get Medicaid. But once again, it's just having the prima facie letter alone may not be enough. You may need to wait until you get your work permit or get other immigration benefits before you can actually get approved for a benefit under the prima facie letter. So the prima facie letter it's a milestone in the VAWA process. We definitely want to see the prima facie letter, um, but we tell our clients at this point it is good news. It means that they think you qualify, but they're gonna wait to evaluate further. But in the meantime, if you need help with anything in your state, take this letter and see what they can do with it at the Human Services Social Services office in your state. Now, what about that next step, right? So you can't do much with it in regards to immigration. Can't get a social security number, can't get a driver's license with a prima facie, usually not. Usually that has to be paired with showing your work permit or your social security number. So in most cases, you can't get the driver's license unless the state allows undocumented immigrants on a whole to get. So for example, like California, you're still able to get a driver's license being undocumented. In New York, the same thing. In Connecticut, the same thing. But some states you can't get a driver's license with a prima facie letter. So you can't get those sorts of benefits with a prima facie letter, right? Driver's license, social security number. It's not going to get you a job. So there's no, other than looking to see if you qualify for public benefits and understanding that it's good news. There's not much else. It's just another. It's now to wait again for further correspondence from the USCIS. Usually, if you've applied for adjustment of status would be the next step. In the adjustment of status work permit and the social security number would be the next step. And those usually come at the 6 months to 12-month mark in the process. Now, another thing is keep in mind that these are timelines. These are estimated timelines. So if I say 6 months to 12 months, it does not mean that, oh, it's 12 months, I'm going to get it right now, right? These are estimates based on my experience, but your case could be different, or the timeline could be different for you. Now, after you get your work permit and your social security number, you usually have a sense of security and stability until you can get the final decision on the VAWA. And with that, it is, I that right now it's taking 2 to 2.5 years to get those approvals, to get that final decision. But at that point, you may just get another request for evidence. So this is where I'm answering that question. Does the prima facie mean that your case will be approved? Similar to the mortgage where you get that pre-approval letter, it's a good sign. More than likely, you'll be approved. But you still have to jump through those extra hurdles of the more stringent review before you get to the decision. And so when you get the prima facie letter, you're waiting for the final decision. There is going to be an officer that is then going to take your file and review it more carefully. When they review it, they may have additional questions. They may have questions about maybe timelines and inconsistencies or things they want you to explain, or they may feel like they need more evidence on a particular element in your application, and that may trigger a request for evidence. If the officer does a detailed review at that time and then determines that everything lines up the same as it did when they issued the prima facie letter, then that means that you will just be issued an approval and you'll get a renewed VAWA work permit. And then it's going to automatically move over to the adjustment of status process if you applied for adjustment of status at the same time as you did the VAWA petition. Now, go ahead, give me a call, schedule an appointment. This is what I do for my clients. I help them through this entire process. My representation is a very attentive one, right? Where I focus on holding my client's hand through the entire process, and we manage their process the entire way. I don't just submit paperwork and leave my clients hanging. So that is the best way to go. And it does make a difference. It makes a difference when you can have representation like that. And it makes a difference to my clients. So don't try to navigate this process on your own. It may stress you out even more, right? You want to do it right. You want to do it right the first time. And you want to get help where there are additional questions that the officer has. You want to make sure that you have the right advocate to respond to those questions. So who qualifies for this relief, right? Because we're talking about VAWA here. If you are a U.S. citizen or legal permanent resident, or I'm sorry, if you are the spouse or the parent or the son or daughter of a U.S. citizen or resident. Now, when I say parent, by the way, it's parents of only citizens. So if you are the son or daughter or spouse of a U.S. citizen or a resident, then you can qualify for this if the U.S. citizen or the resident spouse or parent is mistreating you. If you are the parent of a U.S. citizen who is age 21, now that U.S. citizen, even say they were 18 and they were mistreating you, you could still qualify for this. It's confidential, meaning they will not disclose this to the resident or the citizen. This does not go against them as in no law enforcement will be called. There'll be no investigation. They're not outside of the USCIS. They're not going to call them to hear their side of the story, which because that can set off retaliation against you. They're very much about confidentiality and protecting you as the individual who is a subject of the mistreatment. So, if you're going through something like this, go ahead, schedule an appointment, and we can talk. This can be applicable to you even if you're divorced, or you're in a divorce for less than 2 years. You can get assistance. You can still apply, still qualify. If this person has lost their status in the last 2 years, you could still qualify. If this individual passed away, you can still qualify in the last 2 years, of course. You can't let 2 years pass. So the clock is ticking. You can still qualify for this. Now, if you're in a common law marriage, you can qualify for this. Now, what if you're not married, right? If you're not married, you will not qualify for, if we're talking about an intimate relationship where you're going through domestic violence or some sort of abuse, but you don't qualify because you're not formally married. There are still ways to look at other options for you. This is what I do. I still do assist my clients with other options where I do deem it fit, but we determine what the best solution is for you in a consultation. So go ahead, go to the link in the profile. As soon as we leave this live on Instagram, go to the link in the profile to click on the link, and it will give you all the information you need. You can click on the website. The website will give you the phone number, a contact form. You will have an online chat to chat with staff and ask your questions before scheduling and get assistance with scheduling. Uh, if you want to schedule your own appointment, you just want an easy way to just schedule, get on my calendar, you can do that by going to that same link in the profile. Go to the description in the video on Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch, and you'll see everything you need as there. The link is there to go to the website or schedule your own appointment. All right, so now that I've said my piece, I'm going to go ahead and address questions. So what if your state doesn't recognize a prima facie letter? So if the state doesn't recognize the prima facie letter, then it just means that it's great. It's a great indication that your case is going in the right direction in your VAWA case, but it just means that there's nothing else that you can do really. If your state doesn't recognize it, it just take it as a good sign for your immigration case. But it's really a waiting game to wait until you're able to get your work permit and your social security number so that you are able to then get work or be able to use your identification and social security number to see if you can qualify again for assistance. Now, the follow-up question here is, what if your state doesn't recognize the prima facie letter? Will that affect the processing of your case in any way, with it not being used, seeing that it's only for 1 year? So great question here. So with it not being recognized in the state, it will not affect your case. What the USCIS is trying to do is remember that this is under VAWA, so it's under a specific law that does try to assist individuals who are subject to mistreatment, extreme cruelty, and abuse, domestic violence. And so one of those ways that they try to help states who accept it to give these types of assistance is for this to issue this prima facie letter. That's a formal letter for the states that do recognize it. But it does not mean that if the state doesn't recognize it, it's going to some way affect your case. It's actually a good sign for your application because it means that you've essentially met all the criteria that they are looking for. It's just that they have to do a further review and your case will be moving forward. So it means your case is moving forward for a final review. And in the meantime, they're going to probably issue a work permit and social security number while you wait for a final decision. Now, the other thing that's here is 1 year. So if it is 1 year that it has been issued for, and that 1 year is approaching, don't be alarmed. They will automatically issue a renewed prima facie letter if they determine that they're going to need more time to make a decision. But where it really is important to get this updated prima facie letter is where you are now getting benefits and the benefits expire or the benefits are dependent on the prima facie letter. If you are not getting benefits, as I said before, then the deadline doesn't really matter because it's really just for purposes of getting the state level benefits, right? Public assistance if necessary. It's for that purpose. But if you're not getting it, then at that point it would not. It doesn't have much significance. And they usually issue another one if they determine that they're going to need more time. They usually keep issuing it after that 1 year period. They issue it for every 6 months after that. Hi, good day. I have a not pertaining to prima facie. My passport is damaged and I have an expired state ID. What other forms of ID can I use, please, for my biometrics appointment? So it has to be a government issued ID. So it's usually your passport. If you have an expired state ID, they probably won't accept that. So you're going to need to, I did have a situation like that. And I believe we had to contact them to ask them to allow for an alternate interview and provide that alternate identification, which I believe it was a birth certificate, and we had to have passport pictures, as well as so passport pictures. However, keep in mind that I'm a little rusty on that aspect of, because it was a long time since that situation happened for my client. So in this case, if you don't have an attorney already who can advise you on what to do or research what to do, contact the USCIS directly, or see if you can get your passport expedited so you can get that passport to go to the appointment. All right, put those questions in. I'm here to answer questions. So put your questions in the comments. I'm on YouTube today. Hi, everyone on YouTube. And I'm on Instagram. So put those questions in and I will go through. Hi there. It's nice to see you, Jamil. Hi, good day. I'm a US citizen mother filing for my two children under 18. Is it possible I can expedite their case so they can be able to attend school in September? I started filing for them in February. So usually the I-130 takes at least 9 months to a year. You can certainly try, but keep in mind that when you're requesting an expedite, they really do want to see urgent humanitarian need, maybe something related to medical, some medical issue, or if the children are in some sort of dire situation, um, you know, just to go to school. It just depends. They make a decision on a case by case basis, but you'd really have to present a solid case as to why attending school in September versus waiting for until their place in line comes up. Why attending school in September is more essential than waiting another year. So it does never hurts to make an expedite request, but it really is on a case by case basis. So I'm located in Boca Raton, Florida. However, keep in mind, I represent clients in all 50 states and around the globe. Is the topic only VAWA today? No. I am talking about VAWA. That was my topic, but I always open the floor for all sorts of immigration questions. So go ahead, put your questions in the comments. Please speak on how long it takes for a U visa to get a work permit. So it used to be around 5 years just to get on a wait list. But now they have been issuing what's called bona fide letters. And after the bona fide letters is released, then they issue the work permit. So now they've changed the system to allow the work permit right after they've determined that you've properly qualified, even though in theory it's not happening that way because it is backed up. So we could still be looking at a year to 2 years to get the work permit and get on the deferred action wait list. And then the entire visa process is taking 5 to 7 years right now. Now, the U visa is for victims of crimes, by the way. So if you have been the victim of a crime, assault, stalking, domestic violence, then this could be an option for you. Is the NVC responding in timely fashion on setting interview dates? I-130 just got approved. So in some countries, it's taking upwards of 2 years to get to that interview. So is it timely? I have not been very encouraged by the latest. So I have worked on consular processes all around the world. Before COVID, we were looking at 9 months from start to finish. Now it's about 2 years, 18 months to 2 years. So I have not been very encouraged. I don't think that's timely. So after it's approved, it goes to the NVC. Be prepared to wait for a while before you get that interview. Hopefully they do clear it up where it does not take that long, but it's really been out of control lately. And it's been like that across the board, all across the world. Um, Hi there. All right, let's see. I'm going to keep looking at questions. So, how long would the whole filing process take from start to getting the green card? It depends. It depends on who's applying for you. Is it a parent? Is it a spouse? Is it a sibling? It's going to differ. What I can tell you, I'm going to run through the list very quickly. So, if you're the immediate relative of a U.S. citizen, that means that you're the spouse of a citizen, you're the parent of a citizen, and that U.S. citizen is age 21 and up, and they've filed for you, or you are the son or daughter of a U.S. citizen and you're under 21 and unmarried. That's taking in, if you're in the U.S., doing it properly, about 5 months to a little over a year. If you're outside of the U.S., 18 to 24 months. For the rest of the categories, adult children who are 21 and over of citizens and residents are taking 5 to 7 years. Children who are under 21 and spouses of permanent residents, those are taking about 18 to 24 months right now. Just because they're current, that's not always going to be the case. So if you fall into that category, think about applying now when it's current. Married children of citizens is 12 years, and siblings of U.S. citizens is 14 to upwards of 20 something years in Mexico and other countries. It's between 14 years and 22 years. All right. Our USA Embassy Kingston interview dates far out? Yes. So those are far out. How long does it take to get the U visa work permit, even before getting the U visa approved? So you're looking at about 18 months to 2 years right now just to get it because they're backed up. The system is meant to try to get this whittled down to some months, but it's still taking a while to catch up with all those people who are trying to wait to get to the deferred action list. So, you'd have to prepare for a year, at least over a year, to get those work permits, um, which is a good state that Prima Facie is recognized. And how you go about getting help with your Prima Facie letter. So, I don't know all the states offhand. This is where you should consult with that office yourself, call the office and find out about the Prima Facie. But I do know some of these states do include California, Washington, not DC, but the state Washington, New York are some of them, and Florida as well, but to a certain extent. Individuals may need additional documentation like a work permit or social security to qualify in Florida and as well as other states. But this is where contacting the state directly is going to be important. So I got a social security, but my state ID is expired. So with this VAWA, so if you are looking at applying for VAWA or other options to get adjustment of status, you would be able to get your social security, get your work permit, and once you get those, your state ID, you can get that renewed as well. So give us a call. We can definitely assist. Um, so I'm a domestic violence victim. Can I be eligible for Prima Facie? Absolutely. If you have been the victim of domestic violence, then you can qualify for VAWA, and VAWA leads to the Prima Facie determination letter. VAWA is what leads to that. But we would have to see whether you qualify and meet other requirements. And there are multiple options for domestic violence victims, not just under VAWA, but on other options. If you don't fit under VAWA, then we can look at other options. So go ahead, give us a call and we can definitely assist. What happened when you are married to an LPR and while waiting the process, you're out of status? So if you correctly apply for your adjustment of status process, you should not face any consequences for staying while your adjustment of status process is going forward. Just make sure you don't work, and make sure you don't travel outside of the country. And make sure you're represented. That does make a big difference. Immigration needs to do better. Absolutely, they do. But one thing I do want to let you all know is that if we're looking at 2024 right now we do have an administration that at least they're willing to hear us out and try to make things better. Things are a lot better than before, because before, the reason that we do have this backlog is not just because of COVID, but also because of the administration, the previous administration. They were determined to keep things backlogged, make the process problematic for many individuals, and deny a lot of people. This administration, they're really trying to speed things up. They're trying to make it more humane and a fair process and a faster process. And so unfortunately it's going to take some time because of the backlog and the damage that was already done previously. Now looking ahead to 2024, all of this progress, though small, that has been made, can all be undone by a party or individuals that have anti-immigrant sentiments, and it could get a lot worse again. So my point here is, as bad as it seems now, believe it or not, it was a lot worse. And they're really trying. But another thing is that if you do qualify for something, now is the time to get it done, because next year we don't know what's going to happen. I am certainly going to do my part as a citizen to vote and make sure that I vote for someone who's going to be fair and just to immigrants and their interests. But we don't know what's going to happen. And so make sure, if you qualify for something, invest in yourself now and get it done, because you have between now and next year to get it done before things could change for the worse. So we don't know. Please speak on VAWA next steps. If your kid's name was not listed on application via VAWA, error, VAWA was approved, can I still file I-824 form for them? So if they weren't included at the time that the VAWA was approved, then it's questionable whether they can move forward with the VAWA process. You may need to then wait until you become a permanent resident, because the I-82 form is for individuals who have already been approved. So the children that have been approved with the VAWA. So it might be a matter of going backwards and trying to get the error corrected, because you said that there was an error. So it may be a matter of going and revisiting that error and getting it revised. However, if they were not included, it may be a situation where you have to look forward now and apply for them as a permanent resident once you become a permanent resident. But this is where it's very important to be represented. This, because coming up with a solution, especially with complex issues like this, is not going to be resolved through this live. Definitely is going to require further evaluation and representation. All right. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to take on some more questions. Put your last few questions in here as soon as you can so I can answer. Can I use my military spouse card as my ID instead of my passport? Yes, so that is a formal form of ID, and I think that would be a good alternative to the passport. But keep in mind that I'm not your attorney and I'm not giving you legal advice. The military spouse ID seems like a good alternative, but what you can do is also contact, if you have to use this ID for purposes of going to an interview, entering a USCIS building, make sure you contact the USCIS directly if you don't already have an attorney to confirm whether they will accept that ID. All right. So are there any issues as well if you are married to a US citizen and submit papers but is now out of status? So usually if you properly file an adjustment of status application, you'll be fine. So if you properly file your adjustment of status application, but guess what? Even if you don't, and you're married to a US citizen and you're out of status, you can even submit the adjustment of status application after you've been out of status. You just can't do that if you're the spouse of a permanent resident. All right, that's going to be it for me today. Thanks everyone for your great questions. I appreciate it. Go ahead and join me tomorrow. Aries Boss, you're welcome. Go ahead, join me tomorrow, where we'll do a live tomorrow again. Go ahead and put your questions in as soon as I come on, and I will answer those questions. I'll also come with a topic that we can talk about. You are welcome, Scarlett. If you need to schedule a consultation, you have all the information you need in the description of this video, or you can click on the link in the profile on Instagram. The link is in the description of the video. Click on that link, and you'll be able to schedule the appointment yourself or call the office and get assistance you need to get on my schedule. All right, have a good day. Bye bye.